Hello, everybody. Welcome to the College Admissions Collaborative Highlighting Engineering and Technology College Fair. We are really excited to have you participating in this event. We've got some fantastic schools here today throughout the day. My name is Andy, and I will be your facilitator. But before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenter at any time. And this is just one of many different sessions happening. There's some more later tonight, so be sure to check out the schedule on our website. And then lastly, this presentation is being recorded, and that recording will be available at strivescan.com/cachet. And now I'd like to turn it over to our presenters from the College of New Jersey.
Thanks so much, Andy. Good evening, everybody. I see a few of us joining here. So hi, Danielle. Hi, Donald. Hi, Shauna. Thanks so much for being here. I am going to do a full presentation. Even though we're a smaller group, I'm going to do a full presentation just so that we can have the recording and then people can access it later. But since it is a small group, feel free to use that Q&A function. Let me know what information you're looking for. Let me know what programs you're interested in, and I'll make sure that I cover that during the presentation. Before I bring up my PowerPoint, I'm just going to drop a few resources in the chat here. So you'll have my email address. You're going to have my personal booking link. So if there's anything that I can do to support your college search and application process, feel free to get in touch anytime. I also shared a bunch of great links to connect with CCNJ. So we have our on-campus visit opportunities, virtual opportunities, and visit opportunities that are specific to the School of Engineering, since this is a STEM-focused event. So I encourage you all to take advantage of that. I will go ahead and share my screen now so that we can dive in and learn a little bit more about who we are and what we do at TCNJ, and specifically what we do to empower excellent students in science and engineering. So again, we are CCNJ. We are the College of New Jersey, located in Ewing, New Jersey, right in the middle of the state of New Jersey. Great location, right in between New York City and Philadelphia. So there's a ton of great companies and engineering firms looking at our students. We're an hour from the Jersey Shore. We're 2 hours from the Pocono Mountains. So we give you a classic East Coast campus, but we give you access to everything beyond that as well. This is just one quick shot of the beautiful setting that our students are studying and thriving in. And specifically, the bottom half of this image is showcasing our new STEM complex. So we completed a brand new STEM complex. Construction was completed in summer of 2017. With that new building and with expansions and renovations that we've completed in other areas of our STEM facilities, we're now at a point where every faculty member in our science and engineering programs has personal research and workshop spaces. And I'll talk more about how that really helps to promote incredible hands-on professional development experiences for students in a little bit. I do want to introduce myself very quickly. So again, my name is Stephen Tomkeel. I am the Senior Admissions Counselor of the College of New Jersey. I have been at CCNJ for about 7 years now, so I'm very familiar with the institution. I am a graduate alumnus, so I have experienced CCNJ as a student. I've also experienced CCNJ as a faculty member. I teach for TCNJ's writing program, so I've been on all sides of the classroom experience. So definitely any questions you have about the College of New Jersey, about the experience as a student, I am happy to help in any way that I can. Very quickly, before we drill down into STEM specifics, I do want to talk a little bit about at the macro level, what's going to make TCNJ really stand out. And I think the biggest piece for me, one of the biggest pieces, is that we are a public school. It's right in our name, right? The College of New Jersey. But a piece that really is going to be a differentiation for TCNJ is that we are smaller than most public schools. So there's about 7,000 undergraduate students on our campus. That translates to a student-faculty ratio of 13:1, 13 students for every professor in a classroom. Average class size right around 20, 21 students. And I will say right out of the gate, that average is actually going to be higher than the average that you'll see in a science or engineering program at TCNJ. Typically, we are enrolling smaller numbers of students in each of our science and engineering programs, because we understand the importance of direct faculty connection, especially transitioning from the classroom into the lab space. So really, very rare that you'll see a classroom that even hits that 2021. And I also always tell families, you'll never see a classroom space at TCNJ across any major, any coursework. You'll never see a classroom space that's going to go beyond about 35 or 40 students. We don't do the big 200-person lecture hall, not our style. So really, when students come to visit our campus, or if you do a classroom shadowing experience, or maybe, a summer research opportunity, CCNJ is going to feel more intimate. It's going to feel more close knit. CCNJ often reminds students and families of smaller, selective private institutions that they may be looking at through their college search. But because we are a public school at the end of the day, we're still providing all the higher level resources and opportunities that people expect from the big public schools. So again, excellent internship opportunities, very pertinent to science and engineering students. We have plentiful opportunities for undergraduate research. Beyond STEM, we have excellent nursing clinical connections, student teaching, awesome study abroad opportunities. So we give you all the big opportunities you expect from the big guys, but because we're smaller, you have more direct access to those opportunities, and you have a more thorough support team. You have academic advisors from your majors. You have faculty mentors you connect with in the classroom, career center mentors, Center for Student Success support resources. You have a great team behind you to keep you moving forward, keep your momentum and energy up as you work towards identifying and ultimately achieving your academic, professional, and personal goals. Kind of diving more into the STEM piece of this. So we see some showcase spaces for science and engineering students at CCNJ here. One thing that I think is really cool and really reflective of the nature of STEM itself, all of the buildings that you see here, so the top left image and the top right image and bottom right, that's the science complex at CCNJ. It's actually 4 buildings surrounding that cute little fountain there, and each building represents a different department in the School of Science. So there's a building for math, a building for physics, a building for chemistry, a building for biology. And then right over the wall of the biology building, right on the other side of the science complex, we have the STEM complex. And so that's the bottom left image. Again, that was new construction that completed in 2017, new labs, new equipment, a new server farm for computer science students. So literally just walking through CCNJ's campus, our students are immediately impressed with the notion that STEM is an interconnected field. Yes, you will choose to major in one area, you will choose chemistry, you will choose biomedical engineering, but you will be flowing through each of these different STEM disciplines to get the most out of your experience as a STEM student at CCNJ. Again, a couple more specific images for the STEM complex. One thing that I think is really exciting about the STEM programs at CCNJ is we really do focus on collaboration. You can kind of see that in the leftmost image here. I joke all the time, especially when I talk about computer science at CCNJ. I think a lot of times with computer science, people kind of imagine like, okay, if I'm in a computer science course, I'm going to be in my own little station. I've got the screen in front of me. Like I'm really like dug in, doing my coding, like learning the different languages and everything. But we really do focus on collaboration. And one thing that I always love to talk about, specific to computer science and other programs where students are using technology and computer stations for their coursework, in any of those lab spaces, you will actually see HDMI cords hanging down from the ceiling. And the idea there is that you may be working on a project, you may be running data analysis, you may be compiling code for something, and all of a sudden you'll have like a eureka moment where you have an idea that is really relevant and really important to the class discussion or the project that's defining that class session. And so when you have that eureka moment, you can actually grab that HDMI cord from the ceiling, plug in your computer, share your work with everyone, or maybe the professor will then do a screen takeover so that you can see exactly what they're doing on their side. So our STEM spaces are designed to be collaborative. It's really designed to have students connect with each other, share ideas, and that extends beyond the classroom too. So time and time again, we do an entrepreneurial competition that TCNJ hosted by our business school, but I think at least 2 out of the past 3 years, it's been STEM students, it's been science students, engineering students who have taken the top prize in that entrepreneurial competition because they are coming together to develop apps that support our campus community, to come up with new technological innovations. And so again, that sense of collaboration and idea sharing, is really embodied in every aspect of the experience of being a STEM student at CCNJ. So here's all the list of majors that we offer. We have over 50 different programs, and you can see we have a plethora in science and engineering. We also offer self-design programs. So maybe you don't see exactly what you want there. So for instance, we have biology, we have chemistry. You won't see biochemistry listed specifically on this list, but you can pursue biochemistry at TCNJ. Similarly, and really beyond just pursuing a self-design major, I think it's worth noting that across all disciplines at CCNJ, we really are giving students the opportunity to either specialize or pursue interdisciplinary learning. And a big takeaway here is that for most programs at CCNJ, roughly a third of credits that students pursue in order to graduate are entirely in the elective space. So a third of what you do is choose your own adventure. And so again, that could mean that you're jumping around from different departments. So maybe your primary focus is math, but you're also picking up a second major or a minor in physics, or it could mean that you're really focusing in within your program. So a really classical example, we get a lot of questions about architecture at TCNJ. Can I pursue architecture at TCNJ Lion? Again, you're not going to see architecture listed on this sheet of majors, but many students within our civil engineering program will find coursework that specializes in architecture. They'll partner with faculty who are doing research in that field. So they come out of their 4 years. Yes, it is a bachelor's of science in civil engineering, but on their resume, those students are going to showcase specialized courses, specialized professional development opportunities that they pursued to develop an expertise in the architectural field. Regardless of the major that you pick at TCNJ, we put a strong emphasis on meaningful field experience and professional development. This is really something that every TCNJ student is going to take advantage of. So we have great internship opportunities. Whenever students are thinking about internships, I always say, at least at TCNJ, you're not going to be assigned an internship. And I think that's true for most higher education institutions. Nobody's going to drop these opportunities in your lap. So you want to do an internship at TCNJ, I always say that the student needs to do the first 10%. And honestly, this is true for things like research as well. So the 10% is, you get out of bed, you say, I want an internship or I want a research experience. These are companies that I've heard of before that I think are doing work that I'm interested in. These are skills that I want to develop. Here's a copy of my resume. You take those ideas, you take your resume, you march over to our career center, and that's your 10%. You do that 10%, and our team is going to help you with the other 90%. So the Career Center at TCNJ helps students update and polish their resume. They help students practice interview skills. They show students the database of 4,000 plus companies that have recruited TCNJ students in the past, ranging from pharmaceutical and corporate entities like Johnson & Johnson, all the way up to the US government. Our students have done internships with in organizations like the Department of Defense and NASA. So a lot of opportunities to connect directly with professional organizations. Research is also a hugely prevalent activity that a lot of science and engineering students are going to take advantage of at TCNJ. One thing that I think is worth noting here, so I mentioned earlier, with our expanded STEM spaces, we're at a point now where every faculty member in a STEM program at TCNJ has their own personal lab, a research or workshop space. And so obviously just from that, statistic, chances are there's a lot of opportunities for our students, but I think it's also worth mentioning that our faculty are pulling exclusively from our undergraduate students to support them in their research work. So if you want to do research, it's something that you can take advantage of as early as your first year on campus. You're not waiting in line until you're a senior, until you're a grad student. From day one, if you're in the classroom and your professors are talking about concepts that get you excited, talk about them after class, learn more about their work, figure out if you can get involved, and chances are that you will. The typical science or engineering student at TCNJ is going to complete 2 or more semesters of meaningful research one-on-one with a faculty member before they graduate. When I say meaningful research, what I mean by that is when you do research with a faculty member, you're not just standing over their shoulder while they run their experiments. You're not just typing up findings. We put you in the driver's seat. We have state-of-the-art equipment, but we trust our students. We give our students keys to the labs. You will often be in a research space, maybe even at a time where your faculty mentor is not there, just based on scheduling, based on when you need to get your work done. We trust our students to run their projects themselves. They work side by side with faculty. I was an English major when I went to college, so I always butcher the vocab words, but I always joke that our students are spinning the dials and pushing the buttons. I mean, you are leading these projects. And because of that, we see really incredible outcomes. Many TCNJ students will be published authors by the time they graduate, in the sense that they will contribute to articles that are being published in peer-reviewed academic journals. Many of our students are traveling nationally and internationally to present their findings at conferences where they can connect with like-minded peers. At the highest level, we have a program called Muse, Mentored Undergraduate Summer Experience. And so for Muse, students who take advantage of that will actually live on campus for the summer. They get a stipend, you get paid to stay on campus, and you do research full time. I think right around 40 hours a week, maybe not the full 40, but right around. And so if you're doing essentially a full-time job in a research setting throughout the summer, you're going to come away with ton of impressive findings, a ton of impressive work that you can share with the professional and intellectual community. It's also worth mentioning, among all the different things that we do at CCNJ to get students out of the classroom to have meaningful experiences, right? We focus on community engagement. We focus on leadership. We have over 250 clubs and organizations. But one that I do want to talk about in a little bit of detail is going to be study abroad. So we have excellent offerings generally at TCNJ, excellent study abroad offerings at TCNJ. I apologize for that. But the thing that I think is especially compelling about our study abroad programs is that they are all geared towards specific majors and academic areas. So I'll give you a couple examples really quickly. One example, every year we send a group of biology students to the Galapagos Islands. And those students will actually follow the path that Darwin was on when he was drafting The Origin of Species. So they're doing research with diverse wildlife, they're taking biology coursework that satisfies their degree requirements, they're traveling with TCNJ faculty mentors. Another great example, we will do service abroad trips for engineering students. So for example, civil and mechanical engineering students may travel to developing countries to participate in civil works projects where they are helping to improve water systems, helping to improve architectural projects and infrastructure projects. So when students travel with TCNJ, I mean, these are meaningful, productive experiences. You're getting that academic piece. You're taking courses from TCNJ faculty that satisfy degree requirements. You're getting the cultural piece. You're getting in a new environment. You're learning new skills. You're learning how to interact with people from different backgrounds. And in many instances, you're getting that professional piece, conducting research, practicing your skills. One last thing I'll say about professional development, and this is specific to engineering. So let's say you go all the way through the 4 years and for whatever reason, you don't take advantage of the internship, don't take advantage of the research, don't take advantage of the study abroad. Every engineering student will end their senior year with a senior capstone project, which essentially takes the form of a semester-long research initiative. So even if you do not take advantage of these opportunities outside of the classroom, just through following the course progression itself, every engineering student, and in most cases, every science student will get that hands-on professional development, will get that exposure to research work just through their progress towards degree completion. So now that I spent some time talking about who we are, what we do at CCNJ, I talked about the opportunities inherent to our excellent STEM programs. So hopefully I've garnered some interest here. And so if you are ultimately interested in TCNJ, very quickly, I just want to finish up my presentation by talking about the pieces that go into our application so that you can position yourself as the most compelling candidate that you can be. I'll start by noting that TCNJ is really focused on accessibility in our application process. And one of the big ways that we embody that is we make it easy to get started. So we're on all the multi-school application tools. We're on Common Application. We're on Coalition Application. We add very little in terms of supplemental questions and essays. We ask one additional question on the application. We ask, why would you like to come to TCNJ? I hope you'll have an answer for that if you ultimately choose to apply. So really, to get started, all you're doing is you add CCNJ to your list, you fill out the default application, you hit submit, you're on your way. Beyond the application itself, there's a handful of additional items that kind of round out your profile. We'll talk about each a little bit here. So we talk about transcripts, demonstrated interest, extracurricular activities, letters of recommendation, your personal essay, and standardized test scores, with the big asterisk there being that TCNJ is test optional and will remain test optional at least to the graduating class of 2023. So any juniors or seniors in the room as of today, as of September 29th, 2021, you are guaranteed a test optional process if you choose to apply to TCNJ. Now, one thing is not optional is going to be that transcript. Transcript is by far the most important piece in application review. Transcript is all about consistent performance and growth over the course of 4 years. It's incredibly reliable data in terms of predicting a student's ability to succeed in college. When we look at your transcript, we're looking for a nice mix of academic units. So obviously for STEM students, we want to see you performing well in your science classes and your math classes, but we're still looking for English language arts. We're still looking for social sciences and history. We're still looking for foreign language. We love to see rigor. We love to see students who challenge themselves with the honors courses, the AP, the dual enrollment, the IB, whatever's offered at your school. If you can up your rigor, it's a great way to show your potential to be successful in college. One piece that we do a little bit differently in the context of your transcript, we are going to review your transcript through the lens of your desired major. And now if we scroll back very quickly, if I go to my list of programs here, again, you don't need to know exactly what you want. You can apply undeclared to TCNJ, or if you know you want something engineering, something science, you can come in undeclared engineering, undeclared science. You get the first 2 years to fine tune and pick your pathway. But most students will come right out the gate and they're going to say, I want statistics. I want integrative STEM education, whatever the case may be. And we will look at students in that specific lens. But I think that's usually to the student's benefit. And the joke that I always make is like, if you're applying to engineering, like I'm looking at your transcript and I'm expecting to see some good math and physics coursework, right? Or if I get to the math and physics and it's like C's and D's, I got to ask myself, like, how much research did you do? Are you sure you know what goes into that engineering discipline? So long story short, if you are pursuing educational opportunities and extracurricular opportunities that line up with your desired major, it's going to benefit you in the application process. It's going to show you have a real plan. You know what you want to pursue and you're ready to pursue it. One last note on that before we get past the transcripts, there is one additional piece that we look at for STEM students. We look at something called calculus readiness. Essentially, an ideal candidate for TCNJ for our science and engineering programs will be prepared to take college level calculus in their first semester at TCNJ. And so the way that you evidence that is either by completing pre-calculus or calculus in your high school environment with a final grade of higher by the time you graduate, or you can submit standardized test scores to evidence calculus readiness. And so typically that is defined as a 600 or above on a math SAT or comparable math ACT. The transcript's the most important piece. I do want to talk about that in detail. I'll try to get through the other ones a little bit quicker so that we can get to Q&A at the end here. Demonstrated interest is huge. What is demonstrated interest? It's exactly what's happening right now. You all took time out of your evening to learn about TCNJ, to push your college search forward. We really value that as application reviewers, because if I see a student who's visited campus, who's kind of had a conversation back and forth with me via email, it shows that they're really thinking about this with some sense of intentionality. They didn't just pick TCNJ out of the hat and throw it on the Common App. They actually understand who we are, what we do, and how we can benefit them, which means, you know, chances are they're going to be a more prepared candidate. So I always encourage students, you know, stay in touch, come for the events. I put all those links in the chat, take advantage of virtual and on-campus programming. Anything you can do to show that demonstrated interest will be your benefit as an applicant. We're also going to look at your activities. Again, I kind of mentioned this a little bit when we were talking about majors. You know, we'd love to see students who are doing the robotics clubs. We'd love to see students who are maybe pursuing research or medical shadowing opportunities in high school. But even if you're not taking advantage of extracurricular opportunities that are really laser focused in on STEM, we just love to see students who are involved in general. We've over 250 clubs and organizations at CCNJ. We love to see students get involved. So, you know, make sure that you really take the time to spell out everything that you've been a part of in high school. Talk about leadership opportunities, talk about ways that you go above and beyond and make a difference in your local community, because that just shows that you're ready to be a great part of our community. We look at letters of recommendation. You got to send at least 2. You can send up to 3. 1 comes from a counselor. 1 comes from a teacher. The 3rd is optional. The only person who cannot write me a letter of recommendation is a family member. I'm sure mom or dad or aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa would love to write me a novella of all the incredible things that you've done, but they might be a little bit biased, so I can't read that. One note that I will make about the teacher recommendation. I get the question all the time, you know, okay, so if I'm applying to biology, does that mean I should get my letter of recommendation from my biology teacher? And my very unhelpful answer to that question is kind of like, maybe, if that teacher knows who you are, if they're really going to fight for you. But that's the takeaway. It's not about finding a teacher who lines up with the major you want to pursue. It's about finding the teacher who's going to be in your corner. So even if you're applying to math, it might actually be your history teacher who really knows you well, knows how you interact with others, knows how you serve as a leader in the community. It might be your lacrosse coach. It might be your choir director. Whoever is going to go to bat for you, that's the better letter. That's the letter that I want to read. Finally, the last required piece, you will submit an essay as a part of your application. It's the essay that's built right into the Common Application or Coalition application. Again, nothing crazy or extra for the CCNJ application. The really corny advice that I give for the essay, and it's going to sound so lame, but seriously, the essay has to come from the heart. It's human nature. We communicate more effectively when we have an active investment in the information we're communicating. So don't just jump right onto the page for your essay. Take some time to reflect. Think about experiences that have been meaningful for you. Think about personality traits that make you stand out from your peers. You know, whatever topic really gets you fired up, That's what you need to write about, because all of a sudden you get energized, you get excited, you get emotional, all that energy, emotion, excitement, it makes you a better writer, elevates the quality of your essay. So those are the required items. The last piece that's mentioned here, SAT, ACT, again, we are test optional right now. We know there have been a ton of access issues. We do want to give students the opportunity to send the scores if they're proud of them, if they want to include in their application. And I always get the question, if a student has a score, how do they decide whether to send it or not? And I'm pretty upfront about it. And so here's my take. I'm going to be very blunt here. So historically, when CCNJ required test scores, most admitted students were scoring between 1,200 to 1,350 for a two-part SAT, math plus reading. We don't look at writing, we super score. So 1,200 to 1,350 for a two-part SAT, which translates to roughly 25 to 29 for a composite ACT. So if you've taken a test and you have a score that's in those typical admit ranges, go ahead, send it in. It'll be another great data point to evidence your ability to be successful at CCNJ. On the other hand, maybe you didn't get the chance to take the test. Maybe you took the test, but I mean, let's be honest, there's 1,000 things that can go wrong on a Saturday morning. So maybe it wasn't your day. Maybe the score came back, did not feel like a true reflection of who you are as a student. If you do not believe the score is going to serve you in the application process, leave it out. There's so many other things we're going to look at, right? We're going to look at your transcript. I just talked on and on about the transcript. We look at your engagement with the institution. We look at your involvement. We look at letters of recommendation, personal statements. We have enough information to understand who that perfect TCNJ candidate is, whether or not you include the test scores. So take them or leave them entirely based on your experience in the testing environment. Last thing I'll say, and this isn't listed on any slide or anything, but just a couple quick housekeeping items. I just want to talk about the timeline. So our application is live now. I encourage you to apply to TCNJ today, tomorrow, whenever you're ready. You have time. So our final application deadline doesn't come up until February 1 of 2022 for my seniors here, but there's no reason to wait. You can get the application in at any time. As soon as you get it in, you get an application portal, you get a checklist where you can see exactly what we've received from you, what we're still waiting for. And applying early also gives you the opportunity to consider early decision. So please note, early decision is a binding decision. If you apply to the CCNJ early decision, that means we are absolutely your top choice. It means you intend to enroll as soon as you get the accept letter. You can hear back sooner with early decision. So if you apply for our first early decision deadline, which is November 1, apply by November 1, you hear back in early December before you even finish the first half of senior year, you can know you're going to college. It's a great feeling. If you can't quite get everything together for November 1, we do a second early decision deadline. That is January 1, submit by January 1. We get you a letter in the first week of February. So while your friends are still scrambling to find recommendation letters or submit their applications, you can have the whole process done and dusted. We do see slightly higher accept rates for early decision as well. That comes down to that demonstrated interest factor, right? So again, if that interest really helps an applicant, there's not much more you can do to show your interest than to say, hey, seriously, this is my top choice. I'm ready to go. So we do see slightly higher admit rates for early decision, not a huge bump. Typically, TCNJ admits about 45% of applicants, early decision more like 55%, not the end all be all, but can be an advantage. Most students will apply through that regular decision or general admission model. Again, you have all the way up until February 1. We look at those students together in mid-March. We release decisions in March and April. You have the whole month of April to compare offers and scholarships from different schools before making a final enrollment decision by May 1. But again, even if you're going to do regular decision, general admission, even if early decision is not the right fit for you, get it in early, get it done as soon as you can. It gives you more time to ask questions, gives you more time to connect with us and make sure we have everything that we need. Just gives you a better opportunity to position yourself as the strongest possible candidate. All right. I think we covered a lot of good ground there. Again, I really do believe that TCNJ is a space where we're facilitating incredibly personalized and meaningful experiences for our students, especially in STEM, especially in terms of getting students in the lab, getting them those direct connections with faculties, mentors who are doing meaningful research and meaningful work in their fields. So I encourage you to continue to learn more about it, connect with the departments, connect with us in admissions, and certainly if there's any questions at this time, I am happy to hang out and help out for a little bit. I'm going to unshare my screen. I'm going to look at the Q&A here. I don't see any questions, but I will hold on a minute or two here just to see if we have any thoughts or questions before we wrap up. And then Andy, feel free, whenever you got to cut me off or whenever you want to do your final housekeeping, it looks like we should be more or less in good shape here.
Yeah, no problem. Let me do my housekeeping here, and feel free if you do have questions to type them in the Q&A. We'll still keep it up for a couple minutes, but I would also like to share just a couple of final thoughts with you as well as we're finishing up here. I do just want to say thank you to our presenter, Stephen, and as well as to all of you for joining us today. When you close this window, there is going to be a link to a very quick 5-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback that you could provide. We do also encourage you to check back at the schedule and sign up for more sessions. There is another session going on after this tonight. And then you will be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other session recordings at strivescan.com/cache. So thanks again. Let's see, we have any in the Q&A?
It looks like we must have covered all the bases here. I'm not seeing much. Oh,
Here we go.
we got one. Thank you very much for the help. You are very welcome, Molly. And thank you everybody for joining us tonight. And definitely do not hesitate to get in touch. Even if there's no questions kind of going through your mind right now, I bet you as soon as we end the session, you might think of something later. You have my email, copy everything out of the chat, make sure you keep all those resources. And that way, anytime you have questions or, when you're getting ready to apply and want to check in, whatever we can do to support you in the process, just let us know. Oh, a couple more. Another thank you. All right. Yeah. Very welcome, Donald, Daniel. Great to see you here. Shauna, thanks for joining us.
Excellent. All right. Well, if nobody has any questions, then we'll probably go ahead and end things. And again, have a good evening, everybody.
Have a great night. Thank you.